What's going on, everyone? So today's pretty exciting. I've got a request from one of my patrons, and you know what? I cannot resist it. We've got double red Kylo coming in as a final farewell to a leader and base and bunch of cards that are going to be going away very, very soon. We're actually getting not terribly close, but we are getting closer to the rotation day. And that means that I can't go with my Setly double red Kylo, and sometimes even multiple times. I mean, this is one of the most popular videos I had ever made back in set 2, because a lot of you liked winning quickly, and you know what? It's a lot of fun. So a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon for even suggesting this. You know who you are, and I'm hoping that you get a good, fun time out of this. I've definitely kind of gone through and at least refined my options for double red Kylo, so I want to talk about some of the changes and, well, none of the new additions, because we have 0 new additions from set 6 that I'm running. So with Kylo today, we've got a few things going on. Obviously, we are running a very low to the ground aggro deck with double red, with Tarkin Town. We also have just a bunch of 1-drops, like a ridiculous amount of 1-drops. A total of 15 turn 1 plays, or 1-drops specifically. But then on top of that, we also have an additional 11, so total of 26 turn 1 plays. So we're going to be putting something down. We got a little bit of interaction, and I'm not considering Reckless Gunslinger one of those turn 1 plays, by the way. We got a little bit of interaction with like Daring Raid and Tarkin Town, but honestly, that's mainly for the base to kind of close it out. Usually we're using Tarkin Town plus Migs Mayfield, and we take control of the early game using Kylo Ren's action. We discard a couple cards, get a little extra damage, but really, Daring Raid's meant to actually hit their base alongside Chaos of War. There's a lot of cards drawn in these games these days, so Chaos of War can actually be doing some really, really good work. We have Aggression as a value kind of event on the turn 3 option with Kylo Ren deploy, but really the name of the game comes in the form of these upgrades. So we've got Constructed Lightsaber, Fallen Lightsaber, and Battle Fury, as well as Sith Holocron. So I kind of went back and forth with Sudden Ferocity versus no Sudden Ferocity. I've been pretty unimpressed with Sudden Ferocity, so I decided not to run it, and instead we're going to go back to an old classic in Fallen Lightsaber. I do think Fallen Lightsaber is just a little bit better than Constructed Lightsaber. I find the 1 damage can be quite relevant, not to mention that you can drop it on units that are not Force units, which is relevant as well. But the idea here is we get Fallen Lightsaber plus Constructed Lightsaber plus Sith Holocron, which equates to 6 total damage from our upgrades on the Kylo Ren. This puts them at an 11 powered unit, which is really, really convenient to go ahead and end the game. Either that happens or we go double Battle Fury because it's cost 2. That's kind of the game plan. We really want to take maximum advantage of that Kylo Ren flip turn and get as much damage in as possible. Ideally, we load him up with upgrades. He's just enough toughness to, not die to an immediate attack on the next turn. So we just attack and then close out the game. Although in situations where our opponents are racing in like Space Arena, we're going to absolutely crush them on the ground. So that's the game plan today. Let's dive into some games and see if we can win very fast. Alrighty, into game number 1 here. We've got ourselves a pretty exciting one up against, control decks with Data Vault. Wow. At some point, it gets a little old, but that's okay. We're going to get the First Order Stormtroopers. Actually pretty good in this matchup, assuming our opponent doesn't have anything. They're going to claim initiative, so we're just going to drop our 2 turn, 1 resource plays, and then we're going to pass. We're going to have the Guavian Antagonizer as the resource here. We're going to go with Grand Inquisitor, and hopefully my opponent doesn't have anything too crazy. Entrenched. Interesting. Okay, well, Entrenched comes in. We're going to get 3 damage in. We're going to go with Grand Inquisitor. My opponent getting rid of, Condemn, and then we will pass. Benthic 2 tubes, going to resource that one. They've got resupply. I mean, so we have a pretty decent kind of situation going on here where we're going to deploy all of our cards. The question is, do I want to go Mr. Bones? I think I do. Man, my opponent could probably have Anakin next turn, which is pretty brutal. So let's go Migs. Let's go Mr. Bones. Let's deploy Kylo. Let's put Sith Holocron on him. And then let's get an attack, hit the Benthic 2 tubes for a little bit of damage. Get a little bit of damage, and pass. Fallen Lightsaber, Bo-Katan. I mean, there's no reason to kind of resource anything right now. They're on 6 resources, so they won't be able to deploy Kylo Ren yet. If they do deploy Kylo Ren after like a resupply, they're not going to be able to play many upgrades. And then we can also still hit it with the Benthic 2 tubes, which would be pretty powerful. You know, my opponent, they had the Entrenched, which is good in the early game for sure. But we kind of just dropped a bunch of cards on their face. And, you know, we're probably going to be winning as a result. I mean, they do have Vigilance here, so they can knock out, you know, probably the Mr. Bones is what I would recommend. But I guess we will find out what they will deploy. Yep, Mr. Bones goes into the resource pile. Let's go ahead and attack you with the First Order Stormtrooper. Let's go ahead and put Fallen Lightsaber down. Let's go Grand Inquisitor attack. Boom, boom. 2 damage to a unit, and they're at 32. So now, well, Daring Raid goes ahead and wins it for us. I was going to say, you know, we've got Chaos of War, we've got Daring Raid in the deck, so we're very, very likely to go ahead and close out the game. My opponent can go in and drop a Kylo Ren down, but it's just not going to be enough. Timely Anakin doesn't do enough either. They get to kill one, you know, ambush into Kylo, I guess, and, you know, we can just smack their face. So, GG, even with the early entrench, my opponent did not have that great of a hand up against us. Really, you do not want to be doing the resupply. You really want to get down an early unit. Like a Super Laser Technician is ideal because you get to kill and ramp. And then, you know, some sort of, you know, discarding of a heroism card so you can Anakin out something to kill 2 things. That's the kind of thing you're looking for. And we just kind of killed them. We just kind of straight up killed them. If I had resourced the Bo-Katan, we actually would have killed them last turn. So something to think about. I just didn't expect my opponent to kind of do the Vigilance thing. Because that does, I mean, you know, I wasn't concerned if that was Vigilance, even though we lost and healed. So, well, there you go. Very, very quick game. Getting rid of those control players. That's what I like to see. Okay, we're going to keep this hand. We got a Migs Mayfeld. Got the Fallen Lightsaber. I quite like this. Resource the Sith Holocron and the Aggression. Planning on going, you know, Migs Mayfeld, discard a card, Tarkin Town. They could have Gunji. They got Yaddle. So, I mean, we're just going to kill off the Yaddle for sure here. Discard a card. Boom. Tarkin Town, pass. Got Reckless Gunslinger. I think I'll actually... You know, I think I'll actually keep the Reckless Gunslinger around to play it as a 1-drop here. Man, I'm so sick of these Obi-Wans. It is so brutal, to be honest. Let's go ahead and discard a card. Get 2 damage into Obi-Wan. Man. Infinite Sentinels. I mean, Command Heroism is just so disgusting these days, guys. I mean, you know, this is just the boogeyman of the format right now. Let's go ahead and smack in pass. We've got Fallen Lightsaber and a Bo-Katan and an HK. I mean, we're going to be able to get in some damage. In theory, looking to discard a card, drop down a Kylo Ren, get in some massive, massive chunks of damage. They've got Huyang, which they're just going to deploy as a unit. I'm not too worried about that. Let's go ahead and discard a card. Give, I suppose, the Kylo to TIE Silencer +2/+0. Opponent's got the Huyang, so they can do something, I suppose. We're going to deploy Kylo. We're going to put a Fallen Lightsaber on Kylo. Going to attack, we're going to attack, and we're going to attack. Get in lots of damage there. 2 upgrades for the Kylo. Seems fantastic. Obviously, Sentinel would be pretty obnoxious at this point. But you know what? We're going to try to get there here. You know, Confiscate. All right, well, they got Confiscate. We're going to go ahead and... I suppose they could have Takedown, so let's go ahead and go construct a Lightsaber on Kylo. Main deck Confiscate, huh? Interesting. General's Blade. Okay, let's go ahead and smack in with the Reckless Gunslinger. Kylo Ren hits for 8 right now. Sith Holocron hits for 10. And that should be GG. So they had Blue Leader. So I guess that's what they were trying to set up, but does not matter. Actually, it's for 12. GG. You know, Obi-Wan's, man. Restoring on turn 1 and Sentinel on turn 2 into turn 3 Sentinel with Captain Typho. You know, these decks are getting a little obnoxious for Kylo, I'm not going to lie. This will be a juicy game here on our opponent's side of the battlefield. They've got Third Sister. They could have No Good To Me Dead and Waylays. The question is, do You know, do I want to try to play around that, or just do I want to mulligan for like a 1-drop heavy hand, or try to go all in on this silencer? You know what? I think my opponent with Third Sister, they're not going to be playing a whole lot of interaction. So we are going to go all in here on the silencer. It's a crazy play, but if my opponent doesn't have exactly like Waylay, it's going to be absolutely gross. They have Outer Rim Constable here. Sith Holocron, Aggression. I mean, like I said, we're going all in on this Kylo Ren. We're going all in. All in. Let's go Battle Fury. My opponent has Waylay. Probably good game. I love it. I love it. You know what? We're getting rid of the aggression. So my opponent, kind of on the same game plan as us, but we have Tarkin Town to knock out their Outer Rim Constable. We have an early deploy, and we've got a pretty good setup. We've got a pretty good setup, to be honest. Okay, let's resource the HK here. So what's interesting about this is, like, if my opponent doesn't kill Mr. Bones, we do get an attack. We do get to do 3 damage to something. We do have another Battle Fury for the Kylo, and we will be able to get in tons of damage this turn. So let's see what my opponent's got. Let's see what they've got, because they've got to make a decision here. They decided to go for the race just like we did. Wow, they didn't resource anything? All right. You know what? Let's allow them to resource something, because obviously we would just win. I think that was just a mistake. Let's see what my opponent's got. They've got an attack. They've got to discard a card. So what's interesting about this is we can deploy Kylo first, and then if my opponent has like No Good to Me Dead or something like that, we can put the... Okay, so TIE Silencer over there. Let's go with Battle Fury on Kylo. Let's go with Sith Holocron on Kylo. Let's go ahead and smack. Deal 2 to Kylo. Smack. Smack. Tarkin Town. Well. You know, the Battle Fury plan worked to perfection. Even if my opponent still had their unit up, I mean, we just have an earlier to deploy than them. So if they're going to race us with Battle Fury, I mean, even though we are 5 HP lower on the base, let's say we didn't even have Tarkin Town, we didn't even use it this game, we have Kylo's deploy, which is 5 damage, so it makes up for that already. But then we also had Battle Fury and Sith Holocron, where they had Silencer and Strike Ship. So ours was an immediate additional 6 damage, which is what made the difference, right? So think of it this way. Kylo Ren kind of puts us both at 25 HP bases, but then we had 6 damage on top of that, instead of them playing more units. So absolutely crushed it. Alrighty, my opponent on the IG-88. I'm going to keep this hand. This looks like a pretty solid hand, to be honest. I'm not going to worry a whole lot about a lot of these cards. I know normally I would want to keep, you know, these big upgrades for Kylo Ren's turn, but we're just going to go with the MiGs. And if my opponent has a unit, we're just going to immediately discard to shoot it down. The only way this doesn't work is if they have exactly that. That's the only time this doesn't work. Very unfortunate. Let's go ahead and claim. Literally the only thing that kind of screws us over, but you know what? Nothing we can do about it. Let's go ahead and resource the Grand Inquisitor. And you know what? We're going to drop a Battle Fury on the MiGs. I think this is important enough to where we want the MiGs alive regardless. So I took initiative because, you know, Imperial Occupier is the only thing that works in terms of being able to really mess us up. So what we're going to do here is we're going to discard HK. We're going to hit the base for 2. We're going to ignore opponent's units here. They're going to smack in for a little bit of damage, which, you know, makes a little bit of sense here. Go ahead and get rid of... Actually, I should have probably gotten rid of the Death Star Stormtrooper instead of that. They're going to claim. Okay, we're going to go with Death Star Stormtrooper. We've got ourselves the Constructed Lightsaber, which is perfect. My opponent, you know, Imperial Occupier is fantastic. It really messes us up, to be honest. but that's okay. They're going to be able to... I mean, I suppose they can kill off the Death Star Stormtrooper, try to go for experience token. No, I think that was the right play. I think what they just did was correct. Let's go and smack in for 3. So my opponent's playing like a go wide deck, but they're just trading off with all their units, which is, you know, I suppose a little boring for them. Like, not that they should be doing anything else because they're kind of in a bad spot. But, you know, Imperial Occupiers, this is the card. This is the new card, and I think this is what makes IG a lot better. Again, let's say we take that same scenario and they do not have Imperial Occupier. We just kill their turn 1 unit. If they have 2 units, we kill the first one, we claim. We kill the second with another discard, and then we're just sitting pretty, right? And then we just deploy our units. The fact that they had exactly what they had is what makes this really, really tricky. So we're going to keep both in hand. We have lethal with an attack with Kylo. We've got silencer to attack on the space arena. We even have aggression to maybe knock out a sentinel if needed. So even though they had a pretty good hand, again, Imperial Occupier is literally the only card that I was worried about on turn 1. Well, they have 24 HP on the base, and they are a unit-based deck that doesn't have any units on the board. So even though we are still in a winning position by a large margin, very good draw on the constructed lightsaber. If there was another unit, it would have been significantly less strong. Let's see what my opponent's got. Let's see what they got. I mean, we're here to win games in, you know, a couple minutes. Turn 3 wins. Turn 3 wins, baby. Turn 3 wins. Okay, there's IG. Do we have a Palp? If we have a Palp, it could get a little bit tricky. They do have a Palp. Okay. Trade route taxation. Wow. So we cannot play events. Well, let's go with silencer. And then, well, silencer was a good draw. Trade route taxation was pretty good as well. In that, well, we can no longer aggression away the IG and defeat an experience token, which is what the plan was if they had the Palpatine, but this works perfectly as well. Claim initiative with the silencer, attack for the 3, and GG. Kind of a perfect draw, to be honest. We drew very, very well. I put in a good start, and had a really good flip turn, right? Getting the Sentinels up. It's one of the reasons why Palpatine's so powerful. But we just kind of just had a lot of damage, right? So we drew well, and got out of the pretty good start that our opponent had. So pretty cool stuff. Love the new IG, by the way. And thank you, opponent. Thank you for watching the videos. Into our next matchup, we've got Ahsoka Green. So similar to the game we just played up against the Third Sister, we are going to go all in on the silencer. My opponent may have open fire as a, you know, way out, but we're just gonna go for it. You know, sometimes you just gotta go for it. Hope that you win. You know, you just got to. Maybe we draw the 3rd Battle Fury. We can have a silencer with triple battle. Ooh, wow. Prepare for take. Blue leader. Well, that probably shifts our strategy. They're probably just gonna play blue leader. As a result, I'm going to resource the daring. Yeah, resource the Benthic 2 tubes, because I think my opponents are just gonna play blue leader. You know, knockout silencer. We're a pretty aggressive deck, so that's probably what they're gonna do. Ahsoka Green has a really, really tough time kind of keeping up here, and this very likely is probably, it might be the starter deck, guys. I don't know. Yep. So now we're gonna go Grand Inquisitor, and then we can go Kylo and double Battle Fury. So we're gonna go with that game plan, which means we are going to lose all of our cards. So let's go ahead and just resource 1, pump up the Grand Inquisitor, unless they have open fire, I suppose. If they have open fire, I mean, they've done a good job kind of preventing us from dealing any damage. I mean, Kylo Ren still wins the game very quickly, so wouldn't be too worried about that. But hey, you know what? Let's see what they've got. Millennium Falcon. All right, we're going to discard a card, put some extra power on the Grand Inquisitor. Let's go Battle Fury, attack, discard a card, and then attack. And Turn 3 win, baby. Turn 3 win. Alrighty, let's go ahead and mulligan this first hand. Didn't really like it all that much. Resources Sith Holocron, and I suppose the Fallen Lightsaber. Not a huge fan of where we're sitting right now in terms of this match. My opponent could play a Grogu, and we probably would just lose. Oh, geez. You know, Grogu. Grogu is gross. Okay. What do I want to do here? I think we'll just drop in an HK. Man, Grogu is so brutal. Well, they're going to undo that. Messed up the play, but that's okay. Okay, deal some indirect damage to our opponent. Let's go with HK. Grogu is such a disgusting card up against some of these decks. It is so brutal. I mean, we really only have one option, right? We have to kill this Grogu. I mean, I guess I can bypass Grogu. You know what? We're just going to go ahead and hit base. I don't think we can win competing on this, like, let's try to kill Grogu game plan. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and ignore it. I thought about that for a second. I was like, yeah, we got to get rid of this Grogu. But if I do, I am sacrificing 4 damage. Sacrificing 3 because I'd kill Grogu. And Tarkin Town to deal with that. Let's say they do have another unit to play here with the Han action. Then they're really only to get 1 action out of this Grogu. Because like right now we're going to Tarkin Town away Ezra. So they can't use the Grogu action. So they're going to have to play something that allows them to. Okay, well, that's worst case scenario. Oh, jeez. Cheer it. Dang. You know, sometimes, man, your opponent goes Grogu into unit, into Sentinel with Force, and it is just the worst. The absolute worst. My opponent's making a decision whether or not they want to pass or if they want to, you know, claim initiative. I think it's pretty smart to pass because if I don't deploy anything and I've just discarded a card to this HK, I think we're losing. Okay, my opponent's just taking a while. They're going to attack base. Wow, okay. I mean, that actually works out for us decently well. What we're going to be allowed to do is deal 4, draw a card, kill the Chirrut, hit their base for 4, and then pass. Ooh, double MIGs, huh? Not the ideal pickup there. Definitely not the ideal pickup. Yeah, if we had drawn something a little bit different, like if we were drawing, I know we resourced a Chaos of War earlier or discarded one, but you know, what we were really looking for here would be Fallen Lightsaber, Sith Holocron, Constructed Lightsaber, Battle Fury, those types of cards, and then for them not to have a Sentinel. If we had that combination, we would be in a pretty good spot. But, you know, I mean, my opponent's going to have the Itinerant Warrior. They're going to be able to knock out our Kylo Ren next turn. I mean, this game is pretty much over at this point. Itinerant Warrior kind of puts the nail in the coffin for us. We needed like a Fallen Lightsaber here. Okay, let's go ahead and claim the triple MIGs. All right, well, good game to our opponent. You know, this is just the meta. This is just the meta. You know, it is what it is. We fight Kylo and Karaz, and you know, heroism, command, Senate. You know, it's just this is just what the meta is. We just have to accept it. We just have to accept it. Um, okay. Let's go ahead and I guess resource these two. I mean, no, we're gonna go for the higher damage potential. Lobot, huh? Well, the good news is we can kill off Lobot here. In theory. Hopefully they don't have, ooh, Death Trooper, huh? Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Death Trooper's really good here. Let's go out in Tarkin Town. Let's go ahead and Bo-Katan, Guavian Antagonizer. Let's attack in for 2, pass. I mean, at some point you just can't make this type of stuff up, huh? You just can't make it up. Overall Barrage is really brutal here. Let's keep the Daring Raid here. Okay, they're gonna go ahead and attack in with the Death Star Stormtrooper or the Death Trooper. Let's get in for 2. My opponent could probably have like Takedown, for example, and that's pretty brutal for us, right? I mean, we could put Fallen Lightsaber on. Okay. I mean, Power of the Dark Side isn't the worst. I'm so ready to not have Power of the Dark Side Kira's Data Vaults, all this stuff in the meta, at some point it'll be nice to not have any of that. Reckless Gunslinger in the resource pile. My opponent could have Kira here. I mean, realistically, we just have to hit the base. If my opponent has Overwhelming Barrage, they have Overwhelming Barrage. Yep, there's the Overwhelming Barrage. They're going to be able to knock out units here. We're going to go ahead and put the Death Star Stormtrooper down. They're going to knock it out. Play that first, because then we can go with the Reckless Gunslinger, and at least it will live, and Kira will die. Aggression could be pretty good here. We could potentially ready up, a unit, which would be relevant. Okay. Mr. Bones here. See what my opponent's got. Lobot, huh? Okay, let's deal 4 to Lobot and ready a unit. Attack in, pass. Migs Mayfeld, Sith Holocron. I mean, we are getting to the point where we can do some work here with all of our cards. They've got Maul. They're going to smack us. Sure. Let's go with Reckless Gunslinger. Let's go with Migs. Let's discard a card. Deal 2, pass. Chaos of War. That's exactly what I was looking for. So we grinded it out. Double Power, Double Sentinel, Death Trooper, Chaos of War, and GG. That's the beauty of Kylo. You could just win the game. You can just win the game. And even though we got Overwhelming Barraged and Powered and Death Trooper and Lobotted, and not that this was a perfect hand by our opponent or anything like that, but just the fact that we were able to fight through all that, get in our direct damage, and then just kind of finish the game. That's the beauty. This is the beauty of Kylo right here, guys. And it was an absolute blast to play this one again. All right, so what did we learn with the set 6 Kylo Ren? Well, guys, this is a good deck to say farewell to. It's not like a A tier, S tier list or anything like that. It's always been that kind of middle of the road, sneaking into the very low end of A tier and potential setups. It's a very one trick deck where you get in damage, and you really have to kind of steer away from trying to get value out of your opponent, out of your attacks. As long as you're able to do that, you oftentimes will be able to win with Kylo, and that's the key, right? That is the key, is to just ignore your opponent and hit the base. And if you're able to do that, then you're oftentimes going to be able to win games. There's something satisfying about loading up Kylo, running into all the stupid Power of the Dark Side decks, and the command heroism these days with all the Sentinels, and just smacking them, and then being like, "What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? we hit you, and that's all our game plan is. So it was a lot of fun. I do think that this deck is quite strong. Still, like, this is one of those decks where it really tests the abilities of your deck. Like, are you going to be able to compete? You need to be able to put up a fight against Kylo. And of course, the sideboards, and that's where Kylo really starts to struggle because you'll have a lot more options against him. But oh my goodness, Battle Fury, this is by far the best addition to this deck since the inception of Kylo Ren. Obviously, Biggs Mayfeld is one of the best cards too, but that was there when Kylo Ren was released. So Battle Fury, after that, we really didn't get to a whole lot. I mean, I think Constructed Lightsaber was a nice addition. Kind of gives you that fourth copy of Fallen Lightsaber that I really like. But yeah, I don't think any of the new cards, like I've tried Academy Disciplinarian, I've tried, Sudden Ferocity, I've tried a bunch of them, and I just haven't really been a huge fan. HK isn't bad from, Legend of the Force alongside Constructed Lightsaber, same with Grand Inquisitor, but, this is the deck, guys. It's pure and simple. If you've been used to playing Kylo Ren, really not a whole lot of changes, but you get in and get some damage in. So hopefully you all enjoyed. First and turn 3 wins today, and I'll see you all for the next one.